What if the very first thoughts you entertain each morning were the ones that shape your entire day? Before you scroll, before the noise creeps in, take a moment to listen because this message isn't just a reminder, it's a roadmap. A roadmap to calm, to resilience, to strength, rooted not in what happens around you, but in what you choose to build within you. Start your morning with this and carry it with you like armor through everything the world throws your way. Each morning is a new beginning, an open door before the world rushes in. In that moment, when the first light of day is still gentle and the mind hasn't yet been pulled into chaos, you have the power to choose how to live. This isn't just a simple decision. It's an intentional act, choosing awareness over haste, calm over reaction, self-mastery over being ruled by circumstance. The ancient Stoics understood the importance of those first few moments in the day. They didn't rush into work as if the world were chasing them. Instead, they paused. They asked themselves, how will today challenge me? And then they prepared not with empty promises, but with clear thinking, conscious acceptance, discipline, and wisdom. Today, science backs this up. What we do in the morning shapes how our brain responds, how our emotions function, and how focused we remain throughout the day. When ancient Stoic philosophy meets modern science, a clear path emerges, a blueprint for starting the day with intention, strength, and clarity. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 Stoic practices you can apply each morning, not to become someone else, but to return to yourself, steady, composed, and ready for whatever comes. 1. The value of mindfulness. Morning is the only time of day when the world is still quiet. Nothing has become noisy yet. Your mind hasn't been pulled away by phone notifications, work demands, or unresolved worries. It's in that very moment when the first light slips into the room, when your first breath of the day is still slow and steady, that you have the chance to return to yourself. It's when you can choose to live with awareness instead of rushing headfirst into the usual routine. Stoic philosophy doesn't encourage slowness. It encourages clarity. Being awake is a conscious choice. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This isn't just a reminder to be grateful. It's a wake-up call. You're alive. And that means you have the power to choose how you live. Not every day starts with inspiration. But if you start with awareness, you'll steer your life with intention, regardless of the circumstances. So, what is awareness? It's not just waking up from sleep. It's waking up from the autopilot of daily life. It's the moment you look inward and ask yourself, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What do I want from today? Only when you have clear answers can you act without being hijacked by pressure or fleeting emotions. The Stoics taught us that every meaningful action begins with observation. That's why Stoic philosophers, despite living centuries ago, started their mornings with introspection, journaling, or simply sitting in silence before doing anything else. In today's world where attention is the most valuable asset, being aware has become a quiet act of rebellion. Take the story of Caliban, a man working in a high-pressure environment, packed schedule, endless emails, and back-to-back meetings. He used to start his mornings scrolling through his phone while sipping coffee, jumping straight into work, feeling tense. But recently, Calvin decided to change. Every morning before touching any device, he sets aside exactly 10 minutes to sit silently in his living room, shut out all noise, and focus only on his breath. In that moment, he's not trying to do anything. He's simply being present. One morning, he noticed he was still carrying anxiety from the day before an unanswered email, a tense meeting. Just by recognizing that, he stayed calm and didn't let those feelings control his day. That single shift allowed him to live proactively instead of reacting by default. Awareness is the first step to self-mastery. You can't manage your emotions if you don't know what you're feeling. You can't live intentionally if you don't know what's driving you. And you can't inspire others if you don't know where you're headed. That's why every morning before you dive into the grind, pause just briefly long enough to listen to yourself. Stoic philosophy doesn't promise a life without hardship, but it does show you how to live every moment fully and meaningfully. Morning isn't the boring prelude to a long day. It's the foundation for the entire experience ahead. If you ground your mind properly from the start, the rest of the day won't knock you off balance. We often look for motivation from the outside. A song, a cup of coffee, a compliment. But the most lasting motivation lives inside you, and awareness is the way to unlock it. When you begin your day with a clear understanding of your emotions, thoughts, and goals, you're not just alive, you're choosing how to live. And that's the power of awareness. It gives you a choice in a world that constantly demands instant reactions. You've become aware. You've recognized who you are this morning. But what happens when you wake up and realize negative emotions are in control? How do you keep from being swept away by anger, anxiety, or sadness? In the next section, we'll step into a just as crucial part of the journey. It's honest, practical, and full of insight. A space where you'll not only understand your emotions, but also learn how to use them wisely. Don't miss it. 2. Accepting and controlling emotions. You open your computer in the morning and see a tense email from a colleague, harsh words, even bordering on personal attack. In that first moment, your heart beats faster, anger rises, and a part of you wants to respond right away in the same tone. But then you pause. You take a deep breath. You read the email again, this time with clearer eyes. And you realize it's your emotions, not the email itself, that are escalating the situation more than necessary. The moment you choose to respond calmly and objectively, you've already stepped onto the path of a Stoic. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to suppress emotions. It doesn't promote being cold or unfailing toward the world. Instead, Stoicism shows that emotions are natural, but our reactions are a choice. Emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness can arise at any time from a careless comment, a minor misunderstanding, or even just a bad weather day. But Stoicism emphasizes that we are not ruled by those emotions if we are aware enough to see them clearly. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This isn't just advice. It's a mental roadmap for navigating daily life. In any situation, you always have the power to choose your response. The world may bring you challenges, loss, misunderstandings, or unfairness, but only you can decide whether to let those things take control of your emotions or to move through them with steady reason. Accepting your emotions doesn't mean surrendering to them. Acceptance is simply nodding to reality. Yes, I'm angry. I feel sad. I feel hurt. But then you ask the next question. What am I going to do with this feeling? When you're brave enough to face your emotions without running from them or denying them, you begin to create distance between yourself and your automatic reaction. That space, even just a few seconds, is where Stoicism becomes most powerful, where you choose reason over impulse, action over reflex. Let's go back to the example of the negative email. Someone who acts purely on emotion would fire back with a sharp reply, only to regret it later or damage a professional relationship. But someone with a stoic mindset understands that the email's content is beyond control. It happened, and feeling offended is natural. However, how you respond is a personal choice, and it's in that choice where you reclaim your inner freedom. Emotional mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice built through the small moments in life. Traffic jams, missed appointments, unfair criticism to the bigger storms. Every morning you have the chance to choose a proactive mindset. Instead of letting emotions shape your day, you can start by asking, what can I control today? And the answer is always my thoughts, my reactions, and my actions. Stoicism doesn't erase the real you. It helps you become a stronger, more responsible version of yourself. By accepting emotions as passing signals and focusing on your behavior, you stop being a victim of external circumstances and start becoming the guide of your own mind. Each morning, instead of asking what will happen today, ask, how will I choose to respond to whatever comes? That question, simple but powerful, can change your entire day, even your life. So, tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, remember emotions aren't the enemy. They're signals. You don't have to get rid of them. Just learn to master them. And when you do, you're living fully in the spirit of a stoic, calm, steady, and awake to whatever storms may come. 3. Learning from pain and failure. No one starts their day hoping to fail. We wake up expecting things to go smoothly, hoping to check off our plans and get one step closer to our goals. But life rarely goes as planned. The truth is, failure is inevitable no matter who you are, where you are, or what you're trying to achieve. For those who live by the Stoic philosophy, failure isn't something to avoid. It's a teacher. It's the first door you have to walk through if you truly want to grow. The philosopher Epictetus once said, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. This isn't just a profound insight, it's a brave reminder. Only when you're in difficulty do you find out how strong you are, what you can endure, and how far you're willing to change in order to move forward. Nothing reveals a person's true character more clearly than how they respond to failure. Arianna Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post, is living proof of what it means to not back down from failure. Her first book was rejected by 36 publishers, a number high enough to make most people give up. But instead of feeling defeated, Arianna treated every rejection as a chance to write better, more clearly, and with more depth. Later, when she launched the Huffington Post, the site was harshly criticized as unprofessional and going nowhere. She didn't react with anger, she responded with action. She listened to feedback, learned from failure, and kept improving the content day by day. The result, the Huffington Post became one of the most influential news and commentary platforms in the world. Stoic philosophy teaches that failure doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. Arianna chose to respond with resilience, and that's what led her to success. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not running from negative emotions, but facing them, understanding them, and turning them into fuel for action. When a plan falls apart, a Stoic doesn't ask, why me? They ask, what can I learn from this? That small shift in perspective creates a big shift in life. When you're facing failure, whether it's losing a job, failing an exam, a relationship ending, or a major mistake, the first feeling is often disappointment and anger. But at that very moment, you have a choice. Give up or grow. And only when you choose to learn from the pain do you truly grow, like trees that grow stronger after a storm. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress your emotions. It teaches you to master them. Sadness may be there. Disappointment may come. But don't let it stop you. Let it teach you how to be tougher. Ask yourself, what led to this failure? Where did I overlook something? How can I be better prepared next time? These questions turn you into someone with an active mindset instead of a victim of circumstance. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest icons, wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles don't block the path. They are the path." The thing standing in your way today might become the very road that takes you where you want to go. If you're willing to face them and learn, you don't need to be a Roman emperor or a billionaire to live by this philosophy. You just need to start today. A mistake from yesterday, a rejection this morning, a pain that hasn't healed. See it as a personalized lesson meant just for you. This morning, while you're sipping coffee or heading to work, tell yourself, I've failed before, and because of that, I've learned something new. Today I'll be a little better. When you shift from thinking I failed to, I'm learning to succeed, you're living in the true spirit of Stoicism. Not to avoid emotions, but to turn them into motivation. Not to lie to yourself, but to face the truth head on and move forward. What about you? What have you learned from failure? Share your story in the comments, because maybe what you've been through will inspire someone else to start again tomorrow morning. 4. Humility and gratitude. Every morning is a new opportunity not to prove something to the world, but to return to yourself and listen to what truly matters. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept up in external standards of success, income, status, speed, and achievements. But those who live by the philosophy of Stoicism know this well. Happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from feeling that what you have is enough. To get there, we need two things: humility and gratitude. Humility doesn't mean lowering yourself. It means recognizing the limits of who you are and of your circumstances. A humble person doesn't live under the illusion that they can control everything. They know some things are simply beyond reach, such as the weather, someone else's mood, or life's unexpected twists. Realizing this doesn't make them weak. On the contrary, it frees them from arrogance, from the need to always control, and from endless comparison. Gratitude, on the other hand, is the energy that nourishes the soul each morning. When you begin your day by noticing what you already have instead of chasing what you haven't yet achieved, your mindset shifts. You become lighter, more aware, and more at peace. Gratitude reconnects you with the simple but priceless things: a warm breakfast, the soft morning sunlight, or a caring message from someone you love. These things aren't small. They are the emotional foundation many people lose under constant pressure. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Epictetus. This quote from Epictetus is the core of gratitude in Stoic philosophy. A wise person is not saddened by what they lack, but rejoices in what they already have. Look deeper, and it's more than a moral lesson. It's a clear life strategy. When you're thankful for what already exists, you avoid the trap of endless desire. The kind that exhausts you, drives constant comparison, and disconnects you from yourself. Gratitude instead brings you back to a sense of sufficiency even when life remains challenging. Perhaps the clearest illustration of this is the image of a single mother. Every morning before the sun is fully up, she's already awake, preparing for the day, getting her child to school, rushing off to work. Life is far from easy. Yet instead of complaining, she chooses to write in her gratitude journal. She gives thanks for a body strong enough to work, for her child's laughter each morning, for having a job to support her family. What seems ordinary is exactly what grounds her amidst the chaos. This isn't naivety. It's a courageous choice to see life through a lens of gratitude. Stoic philosophy teaches that we don't need to control everything to live a good life. What we need to control is ourselves, especially how we see the world. One of the most powerful perspectives is that of gratitude. When you're grateful, you don't just notice the good, you feel the value of every moment more deeply. Morning is the perfect time to practice this. Just take 5 minutes. Do not elaborate anything fancy. Sit still, breathe deeply, and think of 3 things you're grateful for today. It might be a loved one still in good health, an exciting work project, or simply the fact that you have another day to live. This small practice won't change the world, but it will change the way you enter it. Humility and gratitude don't make us passive. On the contrary, they make every action more meaningful. When you understand that nothing is guaranteed, you live more mindfully, more wholeheartedly, and you find happiness even in the simplest things. So if you want to start your morning like a Stoic, don't chase greatness. Just look at what you already have, smile, and begin the day with a grateful heart. That's where you'll find real peace, real strength, and real clarity. 5. Self-control and self-responsibility. Start your morning not by checking your phone, but by checking in with yourself. This morning, will you let life sweep you away in randomness and fleeting emotions? Or will you take the wheel and steer with intention through the waves ahead? In Stoic philosophy, there's no such thing as being a victim of circumstance. Only those who haven't yet chosen to stand up and take ownership of their lives. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You may not be able to control what happens today. Traffic, jams, someone's harsh words, a stressful email, but you can always control how you respond. This isn't some lofty idea. It's a practical tool, a source of inner strength that no one can take from you. Once you realize that you are the one who decides your thoughts and actions, you're no longer a leaf drifting in the storm of emotions. You're the one holding the oar, steering yourself through the chaos of life. Self-control isn't easy, especially in a world built to hijack your attention. Constant notifications, empty invitations, fears amplified by social media, but that's exactly where self-discipline becomes valuable. Remember, every morning is a fresh start, a chance to say to yourself, "Today I choose to respond consciously, not let emotions drive me." Take a simple but powerful example. Sam, a student preparing for an important exam. Sam doesn't wait to feel like it before studying. He sets a clear plan, divides his time wisely, and follows through with discipline. When tempted by social media or video games, he doesn't make excuses. He takes action. Sam turns off notifications, tidies his desk, and tells himself, "I'm responsible for my results, no one else." That choice, even if it seems small, is a Stoic act. not letting yourself drift into old habits, but actively shaping your outcome through inner control. Self-mastery doesn't mean you have no emotions. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be robotic or cold. Quite the opposite. It teaches you to recognize emotions clearly and respond with intention, not impulse. When you're angry, Stoicism doesn't ask you to deny it. Instead, it encourages you to ask, where will this emotion take me? Will it help or harm me? That moment of questioning, that pause before reaction, is the first step of self-mastery. When you live with personal accountability, you begin to see that every choice you make during the day is either a step forward or a step back. You can choose to hit snooze for another 30 minutes and regret it all day. Or you can get up a little earlier to read a page, meditate for a few minutes, or simply sip your coffee in mindful silence. No one is forcing you to do it. But when you do, you're making a statement to the world. I live with intention. That intention is what separates someone who lives a meaningful day from someone who just gets through one. Stoicism doesn't demand that you become superhuman. It simply asks that you don't abandon yourself. Each morning, look in the mirror and ask, did I live by my values today? The answer doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. So, here's the message to close with. Be self-disciplined. Be accountable. Every decision you make is a step toward becoming the best version of yourself. Let this morning be the first step. No need to wait, no need for the perfect time. This very moment you can begin. If something about this message stirred something within you, if a part of you is seeking peace and inner strength, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Have you ever had a moment of self-mastery that made you proud? Share your story because it might just inspire someone else to begin theirs. 6. Focusing on the present. Every morning, as soon as we open our eyes, we're often swept into a whirlwind of thoughts about what has passed or what might happen. We worry about yesterday's unfinished tasks, regret the things we could have done better, and feel anxious about upcoming meetings, plans, or risks that haven't even happened yet. Our minds keep drifting through the dimensions of time, but rarely pause at the most important point, the present. Stoic philosophy teaches that living is the art of focusing on this moment right here, right now. It's not about slowing down or being careless. It's about being fully present completely and consciously in each moment as it unfolds, because that's the only thing we truly have control over. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He didn't say that while sipping tea in leisure, but while ruling the vast Roman Empire, in the midst of wars, political schemes, and immense pressure. That quote, therefore, isn't abstract philosophy. It's a practical tool, a way to stay awake, clear-minded, and grounded in chaos. Imagine an artist preparing for her first gallery exhibition. She's surrounded by a chorus of questions echoing in her mind. Will people understand the message I'm trying to convey? What if I fail? Maybe my earlier works were still better. But instead of letting her mind spiral into those uncertainties, she returns to her brush, to the blank canvas, to the unfinished colors. She slows her breath, focuses on every stroke, every blend of hue. In that moment, she's not trying to become a recognized artist. She's simply being herself, doing what she loves. And in that state, creativity becomes pure, untouched by fear or expectations. Focusing on the present doesn't mean denying the past or ignoring the future. Stoicism never told us to live without a plan. What it emphasizes is this: everything you want to change, to improve, to take charge of, begins in this very moment, not tomorrow, not when things get better, but now as you're reading these words, as your breath moves steadily in your chest. In real life, when we allow our minds to pause and truly be present, something remarkable starts to happen. Every action gains depth. Every decision comes from clarity instead of emotional reaction. An office worker who fully concentrates on a report undistracted by social media or pressure from the boss will work more efficiently, make fewer mistakes, and feel less drained at the end of the day. A father who puts down his phone to play with his child for just a few minutes is planting the seed for a stronger, more lasting relationship. Presence is how the Stoics trained inner freedom. It doesn't require advanced techniques. It only asks for one commitment to return to the moment you're living and live it fully. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. When you walk, just walk. When you listen to someone, truly listen. No multitasking, no rushing, just presence. And from there, something bigger begins to unfold. If you can be fully present in the smallest acts, you can start to build a meaningful day. Because every moment lived with awareness adds up to a day that doesn't slip away unnoticed. So the question is, now that you know how to live in the present, how do you turn each day into a day truly worth living? Keep reading the final part where you'll discover how Stoicism not only helps you live rightly, but deeply and with purpose. 7. Creating a meaningful day. Every morning is a new beginning, an opportunity to write the next chapter in the story of your life. For someone who follows the Stoic philosophy, a new day is not just a string of hours to be filled with tasks. It's a blank canvas to be painted with deliberate actions, conscious thoughts, and choices that stay true to oneself. Stoicism doesn't promote a mechanical or rigid way of living. On the contrary, it encourages awareness and intentionality. Planning your day, though it may sound practical or mundane, is actually one of the core habits for living a meaningful life. Because if you don't know where you're going, every turn will lead you astray. And a day spent in vagueness is one more brick laid in the wall of regret that builds an unlived life. Start your morning with a moment of stillness. Just as Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, reminded himself daily, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. This isn't just a hollow call for gratitude. It's a call to arms, a reminder that life is a gift, that waking up each day with awareness and the freedom to choose is a privilege no one should take lightly. Creating a meaningful day isn't about how many free hours you have or how many tasks you check off your list. It starts with setting intentions from within. How do you want to live today? What kind of courage will you bring to your challenges? What will you choose to hold on to? And what are you ready to let go of so your mind feels lighter? A powerful example is the life of James Stockdale, a U.S. Navy officer who was held captive for 7 years in a prisoner of war camp in Vietnam. During that time, he had no idea whether he would survive. Yet he sustained his spirit by living out the teachings of Stoic philosophy, particularly those of Epictetus. Each day in captivity, he set for himself a survival plan to uphold his dignity, stay true to himself, and find meaning even in suffering. His ability to choose his response despite the darkest of circumstances was what enabled him to endure and return whole. The lesson is clear. A meaningful day is not necessarily an easy one, but it's one in which you live by the values you believe in. It could mean sticking to what's right even when it yields no immediate reward. It could mean listening instead of arguing, accepting instead of controlling, acting instead of complaining. Each small act is a brushstroke on the masterpiece that is your day. When planning your day, Stoic philosophy urges you to prioritize what you can control: your attitude, your response to events, the effort you put into your work. If your schedule feels overwhelming, remember you can't change the length of the day, but you can change how you walk through it. Spend time on what matters, not just what's urgent. That's inner freedom, the kind the Stoics always aim for. Alongside practical planning, an optimistic spirit is essential, but not the blind kind. It's a clear-eyed trust that no matter how today unfolds, you have what it takes to face it. Stoicism doesn't teach you to avoid hardship, but to confront it as an essential part of growth. And if you're willing to see every challenge as a chance to shape your character, then no day is wasted. At day's end, you can look back and ask yourself, did I live rightly today? Is there anything I want to improve tomorrow? That question isn't meant to criticize, but to realign so that each new day is a better version, one step closer to the person you aspire to be. Make each day your own masterpiece by living in alignment with the deep and consistent values of Stoic philosophy. Because when you live a meaningful day, you're not just checking off a to-do list. You are truly living. And that's something not everyone does, even if everyone exists. So, we've spent this morning together, filled with inspiration, drawn from the philosophy of Stoicism. From training a mindful mind, mastering our emotions to accepting what we cannot change, each principle shared today isn't just theoretical advice, but a practical guide to help you live with more strength and calm every single day. Stoicism doesn't ask you to become a superhuman, emotionless figure. On the contrary, it helps you become yourself with intention, resilience, and self-respect. If you simply start your morning with clarity and firm resolve, you'll realize the small things you do today shape the person you become tomorrow. And now, we'd love to hear from you. Which Stoic message in this video resonated with you or shifted the way you view your mornings? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts or morning habits you're practicing in the spirit of Stoicism. We're really looking forward to hearing from you. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, share it with someone who could use a positive reminder in the morning, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the next one. It's already waiting for you at the end of this screen, ready to take you further on the journey of discovering your inner strength through Stoic philosophy. Each morning is a new beginning, an open door before the world rushes in. In that moment, when the first light of day is still gentle and the mind hasn't yet been pulled into chaos, you have the power to choose how to live. This isn't just a simple decision. It's an intentional act, choosing awareness over haste, calm over reaction, self-mastery over being ruled by circumstance. The ancient Stoics understood the importance of those first few moments in the day. They didn't rush into work as if the world were chasing them. Instead, they paused. They asked themselves, how will today challenge me? And then they prepared not with empty promises, but with clear thinking, conscious acceptance, discipline, and wisdom. Today, science backs this up. What we do in the morning shapes how our brain responds, how our emotions function, and how focused we remain throughout the day. When ancient Stoic philosophy meets modern science, a clear path emerges, a blueprint for starting the day with intention, strength, and clarity. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 Stoic practices you can apply each morning, not to become someone else, but to return to yourself, steady, composed, and ready for whatever comes. 1. The value of mindfulness. Morning is the only time of day when the world is still quiet. Nothing has become noisy yet. Your mind hasn't been pulled away by phone notifications, work demands, or unresolved worries. It's in that very moment when the first light slips into the room, when your first breath of the day is still slow and steady, that you have the chance to return to yourself. It's when you can choose to live with awareness instead of rushing headfirst into the usual routine. Stoic philosophy doesn't encourage slowness. It encourages clarity. Being awake is a conscious choice. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This isn't just a reminder to be grateful. It's a wake-up call. You're alive. And that means you have the power to choose how you live. Not every day starts with inspiration, but if you start with awareness, you'll steer your life with intention regardless of the circumstances. So, what is awareness? It's not just waking up from sleep, it's waking up from the autopilot of daily life. It's the moment you look inward and ask yourself, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What do I want from today? Only when you have clear answers can you act without being hijacked by pressure or fleeting emotions. The Stoics taught us that every meaningful action begins with observation. That's why Stoic philosophers, despite living centuries ago, started their mornings with introspection, journaling, or simply sitting in silence before doing anything else. In today's world where attention is the most valuable asset, being aware has become a quiet act of rebellion. Take the story of Caliban, a man working in a high-pressure environment, packed schedule, endless emails, and back-to-back meetings. He used to start his morning scrolling through his phone while sipping coffee, jumping straight into work, feeling tense. But recently, Calvin decided to change. Every morning before touching any device, he sets aside exactly 10 minutes to sit silently in his living room, shut out all noise, and focus only on his breath. In that moment, he's not trying to do anything. He's simply being present. One morning, he noticed he was still carrying anxiety from the day before, an unanswered email, a tense meeting. Just by recognizing that, he stayed calm and didn't let those feelings control his day. That single shift allowed him to live proactively instead of reacting by default. Awareness is the first step to self-mastery. You can't manage your emotions if you don't know what you're feeling. You can't live intentionally if you don't know what's driving you. And you can't inspire others if you don't know where you're headed. That's why every morning before you dive into the grind, pause just briefly long enough to listen to yourself. Stoic philosophy doesn't promise a life without hardship, but it does show you how to live every moment fully and meaningfully. Morning isn't the boring prelude to a long day. It's the foundation for the entire experience ahead. If you ground your mind properly from the start, the rest of the day won't knock you off balance. We often look for motivation from the outside. A song, a cup of coffee, a compliment. But the most lasting motivation lives inside you. And awareness is the way to unlock it. When you begin your day with a clear understanding of your emotions, thoughts, and goals, you're not just alive, you're choosing how to live. And that's the power of awareness. It gives you a choice in a world that constantly demands instant. You've just gifted yourself something rare: space, stillness, and a renewed sense of direction. Hold on to it because the day ahead will test your peace. But now, you've remembered that peace is a decision, not a condition. And when you return to that place of calm again and again, you're training a mind that can't be shaken. So if this message grounded you, write in the comments, "I choose to start with strength." Subscribe, like this video, and explore our Stoic Wisdom playlist to keep building the mindset that carries you forward. Until next time, start strong, stay calm, and walk the Stoic path.